Hello Internet, welcome to my kitchen. Today I'm going to be teaching you how to cook a simple, healthy, cheap meal that hopefully your family will enjoy. Now I'm actually cooking this for my husband. He goes to work with a nice lovely full cooked lunch every day. Someone once suggested to me that you have a really good hearty breakfast and then a fairly reasonable good lunch, and then you can have a small dinner, and apparently that's a better way to eat. I don't know whether that's true, but I know night times can be very hectic for us, and not having to do a good proper dinner can be very helpful. So even though I'll be cooking this for my husband's lunches and it will be frozen, put in the freezer, and he can take it to work each day, this is something you can do for dinner. Now, something I emphasize a lot is that you do what works for you and your family. Funnily enough, as a dinner, this does not work for my family. I have one incredibly fussy child who would absolutely never touch a spaghetti bolognese. I've tried many times. So parents out there who have fussy children, I feel your pain. I have another child that's just semi-fussy. He also wouldn't eat a spaghetti bolognese. I have one child that is probably normal. She really eats most things. She's pretty good. And then I've got my baby who is not just eats most things, she is adventurous. So yeah, I wouldn't be cooking this for my family for dinner, but for my husband for his lunches, it is fantastic and makes for a very happy husband. All right, let's get to the cooking. So I'll just start by showing you what I've got here. Obviously, we've got the spaghetti. I'm hoping to get about 10 serves out of what I'm doing. Now, my husband is a well-built man, and even though these say on the packets they're 5 servings, I'll give him a little bit extra. So I would probably use 3 of these if I was doing 10 servings. We've got our beef mince. So an important money-saving tip that I give to people. Meat is expensive, so expensive. I used to struggle to buy meat when it was $8, mincemeat, when it was $8 a kilo. Now, oh my goodness, I paid $7 for that. Usually I would buy the 1 kilo packet, which is $12, and then split it in half. So that would be $6. But I didn't need that much mince, and so I just bought the 500 gram packet. So $7 for that. A few things about meat, because it is so expensive. This may come as a shock, but you do not have to eat meat every day. The way we have sort of been raised in this country is you have meat every day, and you usually have meat with your dinner. Let me tell you, there are plenty of people who live a vegetarian or vegan diet. They do not have meat ever, and they are usually pretty healthy, if not maybe healthier than the rest of us. So you can certainly cut back on your meat and reduce your meat. I know people really enjoy their meat, and especially in a spaghetti bolognese, I think a few people would be looking skeptically, saying you can't make a spaghetti bolognese without mince. So I am doing this one with mince. Another point with meat, the average serving size that is recommended is 100 grams. If you've never seen what 100 grams of meat is, you would probably be quite shocked. And if someone served you up 100 grams of meat with your dinner, you would be thinking, where is the rest of my meat? We eat too much meat. So you can cut it back a bit, and you don't have to worry. You will not be malnourished. You will not be missing out in terms of nutrition. Now, like I said, I'm hoping to get about 10 serves. This is 500 grams. And when you think 10 serves and only 500 grams of mince, you're probably thinking, how? How are you going to make that stretch? I am so glad you asked. This is one of my little hacks that I learned. These are lentils. Now, for some of you, that might put you off straight away. Or you've probably never used lentils and you might think that's a little bit scary. Don't worry, I will show you how to use them. Lentils are an amazing thing. They're a good substitute for meat. They're a good way in this situation to bulk it out. and they are incredibly good for you. They're very high in fiber, they've got lots of nutrients, so you'll be improving your health by taking out some of the meat and adding in some of the lentils. I even have a trick to make lentils taste like meat. Now, another thing you might notice with the beef, it's the super cheap, fatty 3-star stuff. The reason I got that is because I am adding the lentils into it, and lentils are incredibly low in saturated fat, but the fat in the meat does make it more tastier. Because you're only having like half the amount of meat, it doesn't matter quite so much that you're having that little bit extra of saturated fat when it is substituted with some lentils. Oh, other good thing about lentils, they're low GI, they're really good for gut health. Yeah, lentils are amazing. Try to get more of them in your life. We've got our tins of tomato. Now, you can get the super cheap ones for 80 cents. The reason I've got these ones, which I think are like $1 or something at the supermarket, I actually got them for 70 cents. I do that through, so you might have one of these in your area. It's Food Bank. Ours is called Kuma Food Care. And yeah, if you've got a food bank in your area, I encourage you to use it. They are amazing. They have groceries just that you would buy for a lot cheaper. So like I said, these are usually about $1. I got it for 70 cents. So it's even cheaper than the absolute cheapest one you can get, which is 80 cents. Tomato paste. Now, usually if you're whipping up a quick bolognese, you will get one of the pasta sauces. I think the cheapest one you can get is the Dolmio pasta sauce, and that is $3.29. Now, if you actually look at the ingredients, in those pasta sauces, oh, I've got my little Elmo that's supposed to be in bed. You say hi? Hi. You gonna help Mummy cook? Yeah. Right. Oh, you're okay. Here, have a spoon. Pasta sauce. So you get the Dolmio one for like, what did I say? $3.30. If you look at the ingredients on that, it's basically just tomatoes, garlic, onion, and some herbs. If it's one of the ones that say, you know, red wine and infused whatever, it might have like a tiny little bit of capsicum and like a little bit of red wine, but basically that's all it is. So I never buy the pasta sauces. I always make up my own, which is a lot easier than what you would think. I'll show you my little breakdown of why this works out cheaper. Okay, so you got the Dolmio is $3.29. If you do your own, and this will make up about 4 jars worth, so if you're cooking for a big family, you would need about 4 jars. So you've got tins of tomato, you would want about 4 of those, and they're 80 cents each. So that works out to be $3.20. Then you've got your tomato paste, which I just buy the cheapest one. I don't find it makes a whole lot of difference. That's $1.25. Now that's concentrated, so that means that you add water to it. I didn't put in the price of water. Let's just say that's like 2 cents. Then about 4 teaspoons of garlic. We like garlic in this house, so we would use more, but you know. And then an onion, and then if you really want, you can put in some dried herbs. I don't tend to put herbs in mine, but people like herbs. So if you add all that up, that is $5.30. Divide that by 4 jars, and we get, ta-da, $1.32 per jar. Now, you've saved about $2. That might not sound like a lot, but like I said in my first video, do not underestimate the value of $1. If you haven't seen my first video, it's probably worth looking at. So one thing I do understand is that some families are incredibly time poor. Maybe both parents are working and, you know, you're getting home just racing through the door trying to get food on the table. You don't have time to muck around with, you know, chopping up your own onion, and it's just easier to get the tin of sauce and chuck it in. If that's where you're at, that's fine. you might think, yeah, for the difference of $2 or $4, $6, depending on how big your family is, how many people you're trying to feed, you might decide that you will just spend the extra $4 to $6. For some of you, you are on such a tight budget that that is the difference between being able to eat dinner and then breakfast the next day, or, you know, having to skip out on breakfast or something. So for those of you out there who do need every little bit of money saving advice, yeah, don't buy the tins of stuff. Even when they're on special, they're still more expensive. So this is a cheaper way of doing it. And yeah, this tip obviously works too for those who do have the extra money but are cheap like me. All right, so we've got garlic. Again, usually I buy the cheap Woolies minced garlic, but I got this for, would have worked out to be like $1.40 from Food Care. Some people will not go through that much garlic, so, but it does last a really long time in the fridge. And the Woolies ones are like 500 grams and they cost $2.50. Frozen peas, corn and carrot. I love frozen vegetables. They are so convenient. They're already chopped up for you. You don't have to worry about them going off. I buy them when they're on special. These don't come on special. They're as cheap as they get. That whole bag is $3. So that's $3 for a kilo of veggies. I was delighted to discover that frozen vegetables are actually often more nutritious than the fresh ones that you buy from the produce section, because these are picked and then frozen straight away, so it locks in all the nutrients. So you don't have to feel like frozen veggies will mean you're missing out on nutrients. If anything, it could actually mean you're getting more. Now, usually one of my tips for saving money is to not buy things that are pre-cut, because you are paying for that service. Again, some families are more time poor than they are money poor, so you just have to go with what's convenient. However, this is an exception I have found. This is diced capsicum. Capsicums fresh are quite often, they'll range between $6 and $12 a kilo. That bag is $3 for 500 grams, which means it's $6 for a kilo. You've got your yellow and red, which is always more expensive, and it's already diced up for you. So I discovered these recently and could not believe my luck. I don't use onion because the capsicum has that sort of oniony flavor, but if you want to use onion, you can. Oh, beef stock. This is part of how we make lentils taste like meat. I think that's all my ingredients. Okay, so we're going to start by showing you how to do the lentils. Now, I'm the kind of person when I'm cooking, I don't tend to weigh things out, but that's not very helpful to you if you're trying to follow a recipe that I'm teaching you. So I'm going to do the best I can to weigh things out so that you know how much we're using of things. Now, I have kitchen scales, but I know not everyone has kitchen scales, so I will use cups and stuff as well. Now, I understand this next bit is a little bit fiddly and takes a bit of work, but for the nutrition and the money saving, it is so worth it if you can do it. So, we rinse our lentils in warm water. And as you can see, the water's a bit of a funky colour. They say to do it until the water runs clear. I'm usually a bit too impatient for that. If you don't do this step, it just like the lentils just have a little bit of a weird bitter taste that you can tell it's there. So you can skip this step, but I would highly recommend doing it. So that's my third rinse, and I reckon that's looking not too bad. Okay, next step. We get some boiling water, and I've never actually bothered to measure this out. I just put it in until I think it's about right. So that's 1 cup. Hey baby, what you doing? 2 cups. And probably half a cup. So there you go. Now I know how much I use. Okay. Now we get our beef stock. I buy this when it's on special, and that makes it about $3. My baby ran off with my spoon, so I need to get a new one. It's really hard to do this while holding a camera. So you want to put about two heap scoops in there. And we give it a mix. Okay, so then we just leave that to sit for like 30 minutes. The next step's easy if you're not holding a baby. We're just cooking the mince. I don't think you really need to watch me do that. Everyone knows you just chuck it in the fry pan and cook it. So it occurred to me that there might be some uni students or something watching this who have never cooked mince before, and I just assume everyone knows how to cook mince, but you know what? I shouldn't make that assumption. So don't feel bad if you're in the category of never having cooked mince before. So you put it in and you chop it up, and yeah, that's it. So it's not hard. So just while this mince is cooking, further to my comment earlier about meat and, you know, trying to find meat alternatives and not eating quite so much of it because it's so dang expensive, is that nutritionists are now recommending that, you know, you try and go meat-free 1 or 2 days per week. You know, this meat-free Monday thing is, you know, becoming quite popular. So again, you're not going to be missing out by having less meat or having no meat at all. Now, as you can see there, maybe, there's quite a lot of fat in there. You can drain some of that fat if you want, and I will probably drain a little bit of it. So we cook the mince until all the red bits are gone. So for those who are really at the start of their cooking journey, that is how you cook mince. Here, I'm just going to drain out a little bit of that fat, because no one wants to have a heart attack. But like I said, the fat gives a lot of flavour, and the lean stuff you can get has like 10 to 20% less fat. So when you take that into consideration, like I said, this is going to do 10 servings, so we're really getting 50% less fat without draining it anyway. If you're good at doing 2 things at once, while the meat is cooking, I like to just chop up some of this capsicum. Like I said, it is pre-chopped, but it's chopped in strips, and I like it in cubes. I have the time to do that and the willingness. If you have neither of those things, just chuck it in as it is. As you can see, I'm not being particularly finicky about how I chop it up. And probably by the time I'm done all this, it would have taken me, I don't know, a minute or 2. But for some of us, we might not have a minute or 2. Cool, that looks good. Okay, so we add that in with our mince. Now, it's still frozen. That does not matter. Just collect those bits we lost. Then we chuck in the tin tomato. Again, this is one of those weird ones where the convenience foods turn out to be cheaper, because this works out to be about $2 a kilo for tomatoes. If you buy them fresh in the supermarket, they can range between like $4 and $8. Well, I mean, they can be even more than that. Mix all that in together. Yum, 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 yum. Okay, now we get our garlic. Now, it depends how much you love garlic, but probably 2 teaspoons is enough. Probably more than enough for a normal family. I'm going to do another one. This is actually quite strong garlic too, so if you are a normal family, that's probably still too much. The normal stuff that you'd buy in Woolies, you would want sort of 2 semi-heaped teaspoons for how much we're doing up. So that's just on medium heat. It's not simmering away yet because the capsicum was frozen, so everything's cooled down, but it will be. Okay, now we're really off and running. I've put my water on to boil for my pasta. Always put a lid on for boiling because you'd be surprised how much energy is lost through having the lid off, and the water just boils quicker. It might not save you much money in electricity, but it might save you a few cents. And it's quicker. Okay, so our lentils have been soaking. They've soaked up quite a lot of that water. That's what they do. So I know this looks very liquidy, but once you add in the tomato paste, that's going to thicken it up. And we're going to let it cook for a while too. So we plop in our lentils. Lentils tend to soak up the flavour of whatever is around them. So really, you're not going to taste them in the recipe. They're just going to taste like what's in the recipe. I said in my first video that there might be some things you'll go, oh, that's not going to work for me and my family, but to keep an open mind. Lentils are one of those things I want you to keep an open mind about. You might think my kids aren't going to eat that. Don't tell them it's in there. They might not even notice. And if you do tell them it's in there, they might not know what lentils are, so, you know, it might not matter. Okay, so we put in our tomato paste. You probably don't have to use the whole thing. Yeah, it's quite a lot of tomato paste, so I'm going to reserve a tiny bit, which you can use for all kinds of things. My husband likes to put it on toast with a bit of cheese. See, that's already heaps thicker just from the tomato paste. Okay, so the lentils are still hard. You usually need to soak lentils a lot longer than that, but what speeds up the process is boiling them, which is what we're going to be doing here. So to get all those beautiful flavours to infuse, we're going to let that simmer away on low for like 15 minutes. Now, my husband loves mushrooms. If you're on a tight budget, mushrooms are not for you because they are about, well, these I got on special for $10 a kilo. Again, already chopped up. Worked out cheaper than getting them from the produce section not chopped up. I'm going to add these in, but I'm not going to add that to the total that I show at the end of how much this meal cost because, yeah, if you're on a super tight budget, I would not recommend mushrooms. But I want to keep my husband happy, so, and we can afford mushrooms these days, so I'm going to add them in. Now this is actually already quite thick, so I am going to add in another ½ cup of water and put a lid on it so it doesn't lose any more liquid, because those lentils will continue soaking up liquid. And as much as a nice thick sauce is nice, it will be way too thick. So this is another thing I'll just mention that I'm doing here, which is I'm cooking a big bulk lot. If you have the freezer space, I absolutely recommend this because I know how busy life can be, especially if you've got both parents working. I am so super blessed to be a stay-at-home mum, but even I find with 4 children, life can get very busy. If you cook up a bulk lot, you can freeze half of it. So in this situation, you don't freeze the pasta, you just freeze the mince sauce. So one of your particular busy nights, you just come home, you chuck the sauce in the microwave, heat it up until it's hot, and while that's going on, you just put your pasta on, which takes like 12 minutes, and there you go, dinner's done. Super quick, super easy. If you do these meals, you can do them individually. We've got these little things that I got from Aldi. They're great because you can write on them what the thing is just in pencil, and then you rub it out. You reuse them again and again. These were about, I think they worked out to be about $1.50 each. They're quite sturdy. Obviously they won't last forever. But you've also got your cheap little takeaway containers. These do not throw these out after you have used them. They cost about 50 cents each, even if you buy them in bulk, quite cheap. So if you're adding 50 cents to individual meals, to me, that's a lot of money. And they usually, I'd probably get about 10 uses out of these before they start breaking. So that's really not too bad. But if you can invest in the sturdier ones, they will last you a lot longer and save you a lot more money. But you might not have the money to invest in them to start with. So yeah, cheap takeaway containers and just reuse them again and again. And if you're freezing a bulk amount, obviously you need a bigger container. You can actually just put it in a plastic bag, which are becoming a little bit more rarer these days, but you can also buy plastic bags. So you can just put it in a bag, and then I would recommend not microwaving it in that bag because the plastic can melt. So maybe put it in a plastic bowl or something and just some kind of lid over the top to microwave it. Yeah, so that gives you super quick, easy meal for a night. So if you're cooking like this, even if it only does you over 2 meals, if you do that every night, that means you're only cooking 3 to 4 times during the week. Alright, so that's cooking away, looking very good. Taking the lid off, because I will want that just to thicken very slightly. I've put my pasta on. I had to swap that out for a bigger pot because I put in the 3 packets of pasta, and goodness, that was a heck of a lot of pasta. So that has probably been simmering for about 15 minutes already. The longer you can leave it to simmer, the better, I would say. It just gives it a better flavour. And at this point, we also take the lid off the pot, otherwise it will boil over. So when you've got about 5 minutes to go with your sauce, add in the frozen peas and corn. Now, this happens to me every single time I cook. I always cook too much and really struggle to fit it in the pan. I think I'll be alright this time, but we're pretty much overflowing here. Now, if this flavour is a little bit tart for you, which it might be, because if you're used to pasta sauces, all pasta sauces have, tomato sauces have sugar in them. So you can add in a couple of teaspoons of brown sugar and just mix that in. Now, we've drained the pasta. Because I'm doing this in individual serves, the pasta is going to be frozen with the mince. One way to stop getting sticky, gluggy, disgusting pasta when you reheat it is you put in a little bit of oil. So whatever oil you want to use. Oh dear, that's getting a bit foggy. And then we just mix it up. So if your pasta is going to be sitting there for a minute before getting served, this is a good tip to stop it all sticking to itself and being all gluggy and gross. Just add in a tiny bit of oil, you don't need much, and just mix it around. Alright, well here is the finished product. So I put one on a plate just to give you an idea of, you know, the scope and magnitude of it all. So, you know, that's a good proper meal. Now I ended up doing even better than I thought. I got all these meals out of it. So what's that? 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 13. And I ran out of pasta, but that's how much is left, which is at least enough for one more. Yeah, you could stretch it to 2 small ones. So what's that? 14 and a little bit meals. And then I just put my little label on, spag bowl, or spag bog, and I always put little notes like, I love you, because I'm such a good wife. Okay, so here's the breakdown of our spaghetti bolognese. We have our mincemeat, which cost me $7, but you can get for $6 if you buy the 1 kilo and then just break it up into 2. Now, usually I would actually get the mince on clearance, put it in the freezer until I needed it. So yeah, $7 is way above what I would usually be paying for that amount of mincemeat. But if you're just going down to the supermarket and getting your 500 grams, that's what you'll be paying. Tins of tomato, again, like I said, I got those cheaper through Food Care, but you would pay 80 cents for them, so that's $1.60 because we used 2. Frozen capsicum, that was $3 for the bag. The pasta was $1 each, and we used 3 packets of that, so that's $3. Frozen peas, corn and carrot, $3. Tomato paste, we didn't use the whole thing, but let's just pretend we did, $1.25. Garlic, so that's like $2.50 for one of the normal jars, and how much we used, it works out to be like 10 cents. Beef stock, that's $3.50. I only ever buy it when it's on special, which makes it about $3, but let's just say we spent 20 cents on that. The lentils are $4.40 a kilo. Again, I buy those just when they're on special. They last forever, so you can buy heaps of them when they're on special, and they will just sit in your pantry until you need them. But let's just say we paid the full price for them. So we used 300 grams, so that works out to be $1.32. So our total for the entire meal comes to $20.47. We got a bit over 14 servings out of that. I did add in those mushrooms, which shrink down to pretty much nothing. So let's just say that extra little bit makes up for the mushrooms. So that's 14 servings. And our grand total is, per serve, dun, 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 $1.46. So each one of those delicious meals is $1.46. So I would not eat an entire serving of that. If that was to feed our whole family, my husband, me, and our 4 kids, that would be about $7. So you remember when Curtis Stone was doing his Feed Your Family for under $10? Well, if you're feeding your family for $10, you are paying too much, apparently. So like I said, some of those items I would be paying less for. So $1.46 is the absolute most I would be spending to make that meal. So I hope this video has been helpful for you. Try the recipe, tell me what you think. See you next time. And what do you have for lunch, Bubba? You've eaten all your cheese. You've eaten all your kiwi fruit. These are your kidney beans that you love. You want a kidney bean? Yummy. And a little muffin that Mummy made. Is that good?